Byrd. I think I got it, man.
Keep it going, Bryan. You can do it. Pull her in. Pull her in. With all this shaking around, I'm going to have to find my sea legs before we even hit the water. And we got a great show for you today. We've got a modern fishing boat. We're going to go inside a DI-injected two-stroke engine. We've got a lot about lubrication. Stick around. Get the net. Now check this out, we got a full-on bay tournament fishing boat, and we got a buddy, he's in between events, so we're gonna bring the boat in today, and Bryan's gonna do some things to help him fish, catch those fish better. I'm gonna do some things to help him get out there to the right spots.
Yeah, he's one of those guys like us that gets to mix business and pleasure. The pleasure, 75 miles an hour with that baby right there.
That's right. Now it starts with a hole. You've got to have a hole that can get you where you need to go. From shallow waters to in a bay, you're going to pick up some 2-3 foot chop. This one's got a stepped hull feature. You can really pick some air up onto that boat, reduce the drag, and skim across those big wakes.
Yeah.
But it's the power back here that's going to get you there the fastest.
Yeah, and this thing's got a cool feature too. It's got a jack plate. What it does, it can raise or lower that motor. A lot of the guys use this because let's say you're fishing in 1 foot of water, you know, that prop is going to be really low. So you raise it up, but then when you hit that 75 miles an hour, bury it all the way deep, then you get your top speed.
That's right. And you know, it still has articulation and tilt, so you can get that boat to lift, get the air under there, and really make that sucker fly.
Now if you go to the front of the boat, this is where you get to do all the pleasure, all the fishing. And what he normally does is he's putting these two together and standing on, you know, 2 feet of platform. And this thing's a little bit rockety. So what I'm gonna do is actually custom build him a nice cooler holder that will fit inside of his compartment here. Batteries are stored down in the bottom. Fit it inside, but also have a nice sturdy platform. So when he's up here fishing, it's not gonna fall off in the water like I did earlier.
You're not going to get anything in here with an engine in it for too long before I start messing around with it. Now, all you car guys, we're going to discombobulate you a little bit on your orientation and how things are set up on one of these outboards. And you two-stroke guys, we're going to bring you a little bit into the future. Now, this is a modern two-cycle, two-stroke outboard engine. This baby makes 300 horsepower out of 3.2 liters. This is what makes this boat go 75 miles an hour. Pretty impressive. Now, there's a lot of unique things about one of these engines. You know, as a car guy, they're pretty fascinating. So there's a lot of stuff going on in here, but to simplify it, I'll get you oriented first. Now this is the baby sister. This is a 2.5 liter. Now you can see it looks like, you know, a standard V6, which is this one, same thing. And you can see the orientation. We've got sort of a cylinder head unit on top. But what's different about a boat is they orient it like this. You may ask why? Well, it's got a crankshaft spinning. So the easiest way to get my shaft motion down to the prop is by setting it up this way. Kind of neat. Well, a two-stroke works a lot different than a four-stroke, you know, because it doesn't have necessarily an intake system, you know, for cycles and valves. It uses sort of a reed plate. Now, it actually breathes through the bottom side of the engine. So if we take a look down here, each one of these cylinders is blocked off in a different bay, and I've got basically a reed plate here, and you can see I can pull air through this side, and these little steel plates will open up and let air pass. When I start to build pressure, they'll lock them off. So I've got one of these inserted in each one of these, and I'm going to pull air into the crankcase via the piston motion. Then with some slots in here, I'm going to let it in my cylinder, compress and fire it. So let's pull off one of these cylinder heads and get a little bit better idea of how that works. Pull off a couple of fasteners here, and you can see some of these interesting passages. Now in the old days, we used to mix fuel and air together because we've got all this, you know, air and fuel going in. We've got to lubricate all these parts, right? We're breathing through the crankcase. Well, on the old engines, we blow a lot of blue smoke. They were dirty. Combustion efficiency was terrible. But by separating the fuel and air, it allowed us to control how much oil we needed when, separate it from the fuel. So we kind of had EFI, and we had injection still upstream of that, you know, valve body of sorts. But now we're going to take, instead of putting the fuel upstream of the valve, we're going to put it in the cylinder. That's what's kind of unique here. You can see not much of a combustion chamber. We've got sort of a bowl here, and we've got fuel injection and air right in here to basically vaporize and ignite it with the spark plug. Now check out some of these chambers. You can see on the cylinder here, we're going to breathe up through the crankcase. And here's our intake ports open. So all these are going to pull air in, compress, bang. Now when we're done, we're going to exit out. You can see my finger. All the exhaust actually breathes through the cylinder block into this chamber here. Well, that's pretty hot gas. We've got to cool it. So as the coolant flows through the engine, cools all the things we need, it's going to feed up through here into the manifold, up on this side, and cool all this all the way down till we can get it out the prop. Now you can see this cylinder here didn't come out so well. It's got some damage. You can see it had a lot of detonation, some pre-ignition. It basically let itself go. Now this is what can happen if you don't do proper maintenance on a boat. Now a boat does a lot different duty cycles than a car. Like it may sit for a long time. Your fuel may go stale. You collect a lot of moisture. You know, it's going from sitting on a long winter to firing up in the summer. You got to go through and check some stuff. Like even your cooling system. You may catch a bag, a grocery bag in your impeller, on your inlet to your water system. Now you're not getting the right coolant flow. So a lot of interesting things about a boat that we don't think about, when we work on our cars. So we're going to go through a lot more maintenance in a minute. Bryan's going to show you some of the stuff he's working on up front.
Now getting started on this platform, I'm going to show you inside where it's got to be stored. I'm checking my height, looking at about 14 inches, so I'm going to go for 13 and a half just to be safe. Now to get this thing started, what I did was I made a template of the cooler itself. And this is the size plus 1/4 of an inch so that I can drop it in about 2 inches, give them some stability. And I think what I'm going to do is take some tubing here. This is 1 1/4 aluminum. I'm going to fish mouth, appropriate. Fish mouth the edge to hold it. And then at that point, we'll put some little rubber holders on it, cut a little bit of an angle, and we still have a few things to figure out, but that'll kind of get us rolling. We're out of time right now. I got to take a break. Hold on.
This segment of Two Guys Garage is brought to you by iBrakeParts.com. For all of your braking needs, look to iBrakeParts.com, your online stopping destination.
Nothing like kicking off your shoes, relaxing a little bit, and still getting your job done. Now we got a 2-cycle engine, so we've got to put 2-cycle oil in it. Now here's our reservoir on the engine, but it's pretty small, so I've got a bigger one down here that I can fill a lot less often. So let me get my funnel down here, and one of the things you want to make sure that you don't obviously spill everywhere is make sure you've got the right oil, because we've got a 2-cycle engine, we're going to use 2-cycle oil. And you may wonder, what's the difference? Oil is oil. Well, it's not. I mean, it's got a base stock, a real high quality base stock, but it's got a formulation to it that's going to allow it to do different things, different properties, whether it's cold startability, whether it's anti-corrosion, or in the case of 2-cycle, you're burning it in the combustion chamber. There we go, top that guy off. So you don't want additives that you'd normally put in a 4-cycle engine getting burned and leaving deposits. Deposit formation is obviously bad. It can create hot spots, pre-ignition. So there's a specific formulation in a 2-stroke. Now this is a synthetic blend from Mystic. It's their JT4. Now what this is going to do is have a specific formulation for 2-cycle engines. So you've got longevity, friction, all the things you need oil to do. But it's also going to be it's got cleaning agents in there, so it can remove deposits that are already formulated in there. Now there's a lot of things that go into an oil, and we're going to get some of those on the bench because they're confusing, and we'll try to break them down a little more simply for you.
We're back on our custom casting platform here, and this is what he used to make his living on, standing up here every day. And you can imagine that gets a little precarious. The other thing is there's no real step on here, so we're going to make him a step to get up on top. So moving along, this is a mock-up of the cooler. Got a nice gap around the outside, and we've cut and mitered the ends, put them on a square wheel, got them nice and fit. The problem is what I really would like to have done is done a nice radiused edge, but my bender is made for a 1 1/8 inch tube. We have 1 1/4, so it's not going to fit in there. And you can imagine that it would have squished it and made it ugly. So what we've decided to do is go ahead and miter, kind of like you would do in a house or with wood. The other thing we've done is cut our legs. We've got 4 legs that we've cut to length, and we've got them fish mouth. The way we do this is on a special notcher, goes in on an end mill, cuts it into this perfect fit. So you can do this at home with like a mill, you can do it with a drill press, on a hole saw, you can also do it with a grinder. But this is a cool way for us to do it. Now at this point, I'm ready to tack together, and then I can figure out what's going to hold the base of my cooler.
Before we talk about additives, we should talk about friction. Now, you got a surface that looks really smooth, but under a microscope, your two surfaces look very jagged. Now, if you've got relative motion, you can see where the high peaks are going to crash, and you're going to have, asperity contact, you're going to have adhesion, metal removal from one surface to another. I mean, that's wear. Now, wear is money, right? Because your parts are going to wear out, you're going to spend more dollars. Now, it's also heat, right? You're going to build up heat. That's lost energy, so that's fuel economy. So a lot of bad things can happen, and you need to get, obviously, parts lubricated. Well, how do you do that? Well, at rest, these are going to be pretty close together. But once I start getting some relative motion, just like a water skier gets pulled out of the water, he's going to be up on the surface in no time. Now we've got motion, but we don't have collision of any of these, asperities or high points. We've got a hydrodynamic film. Now, this can be a flat surface, or it can also be round surfaces. So if we look at, let's say, the bore of a crank, and we look at the block that it's surrounded by, we can have basically relative motion of those two surfaces. So at rest, this crank bore might be sitting down here at the bottom, but once I get this relative motion and this crank starts spinning, now I'm going to build up that hydrodynamic wedge. This crank bore is going to lift, and I'm going to have an even uniform film thickness all the way around. That's why at startup you get most of your wear, because you haven't built up a film thickness yet. Well, other components never get the surface speed, like gears. So they never have really that film thickness. They've got a lot of contact pressures. So that's why Mystic spends a lot on R&D developing formulations, off of base oil that's going to get you all the performance needs that you have, whether it's, anti-friction, so you don't get scuffing, minimal deposit formations, so you don't get hot spots, for pre-ignition, stuck rings, everything from, anti-foaming, or if you think about the environment you're in, this boat's picking up a lot of salt air and it's ingesting it through the crankcase. You don't need that chemistry causing a lot of bad things in your engines. You've got to account for those. So that's why these formulations are so important, because they take care of everything from just your friction to chemistry of everything that's going on. You don't see sludge anymore in engines. Engines are better designed, but the chemistry of the oil is better too.
That is the last tack, which is nice. We've got our legs set up. We've taken a degree finder on one side and a square and made that at about 5 degrees. We'll give a little bit more strength front to back. And if we're lucky and we flip it over and we actually test. So let me simulate. If you look at this, see how it's a little rockety? But when I put it on the bench upside down to weld it, I can clamp it and it'll pull that out of it. It'll be nice. And we're looking for about 2 inches down on the cooler. Simulate that with the apple crate. Voila, it fits. Yes. So now we're kind of at that point. I'm going to put it back, go ahead and get it welded. Got to take a break right now, but when we get back, we've got a really cool CNC plasma we're going to show you.
Hey, welcome back. And we've got our Mystic tournament boat here between fishing tournaments, and we're doing a little bit of maintenance on it. Now I've got my propeller off, and I'm going to grease this up a little bit just to make sure I don't get corrosion between my output shaft and my propeller. You want to make sure you use, a marine grade, grease, because it's going to have, like this one's an anhydrous calcium base. It's very water repellent. It's also got, anti-corrosion additives in it, as well as, elements for high pressures. That's going to make sure, those salts aren't going to get in here and corrode all the, important components, stick them together, or wear them out prematurely. Now the drain is actually in here for the lower unit gear lube. So we're going to do that, but at the end of the season. So you'll fill this up here until it starts to dribble out, and you'll just cap both of them and you'll be done. Now a few other maintenance items. We've got fuel filter and separator up here. Now that guy sits right in here like that. Now you want to do that about every season. Now there's a separator down here with a sensor. Now when the computer reads that you've got water in there, you can come back here and drain it out. Now the other thing you want to do is check your thermostat. It's buried right in here. Now even if you're in fresh water, you don't have those anti-corrosion additives like you do in your antifreeze. So even your freshwater stuff can corrode. So check your thermostat, replace it, and you definitely want to check your impellers. If these things get like a plastic bag sucked up on the entry, you're not going to get that coolant in there to lubricate this guy. It could get hot, come apart, it could chunk or crack. Other things too, like fuel, there's a lot more ethanol being added in, like E10, they're talking about going to E15 or E20. Well, that ethanol can be very corrosive, So all the manufacturers are having issues with, you know, some of the older lines and things that need to kind of come up to speed with some of the corrosiveness of ethanol. So it's something to check. Now, last thing you want to do, you don't have to wait till the end of the season. Anytime you take a long trip, make sure you pack your bearings, check everything out. Now, a lot of times guys go to the lake, they're hauling, they build up a lot of heat, especially if you've got brakes, so everything's hot and expanded. Then you go dunk it in the water, it shrinks and contracts real fast. Well, you got moisture that could get sucked in there, so you could build up water in there pretty quickly. So that's something you always want to check. This is the same Mystic lubrication, you know, the grease that we used in the rear. It's a heavy duty marine grade. It's great for keeping out the corrosion and for those long hauls.
Casting table's looking pretty sweet. All tacked together, another clamp or two, finish some welding. Now all we had to do on this was shear it, put a couple of brakes up, and not only will this hold the ice chest, but also hold him. Put some rubber in case he doesn't want to stand on the top. This thing's ready to go. We've even got the special little white rubber feet that we got down the street.
Nice, man.
And I think
you really rocked this one out.
Yeah.
Cool, I see you got the tracker CNC going. I like the logo, it looks pretty slick.
I love that tool. I mean,
it does a lot of stuff.
It's easy to use when you program it in, and all it does is just sit there. Can you imagine like trying to cut something like that out accurately?
Oh, man. It'd take forever.
And fast.
Yo, all you gotta do is just basically graph it out. You know,
Oh, yeah.
graphically, boop, download it, it
Yep.
spits it out. You don't have to do anything.
Yep,
You go have a beverage, come back,
no doubt.
you know.
The tractor's got a 3-year warranty, so anything goes down, I'm covered.
It's cool when you got a great tool where you can start building favors to get things that you want.
Now, the thing that I want, and the reason that I busted this out was you brought your board, right?
Yep, I got the wakeboard.
Now, I think after the break, if we're lucky, maybe he'll take us for a ride.
This tip is brought to you by LMC Truck. When we first looked inside the 81 Project truck, we knew we had problems. To fix the problem, we unbolt the original seat and remove the original cover and cushions. Now we lay out the new cushion and attach the reupholstery kit using the included hog rings and hog ring pliers. We chose the stock black velour for this truck, but LMC Truck has a number of colors in velour or vinyl for your seats. Now we can mount our retractable lap seat belts. All of the hardware is included, and it should mount right up to the stock lap belt location. Using only a reupholstery kit and some new cushions, our interior looks brand new again. This tip is brought to you by LMC Truck. With over 30,000 truck parts in stock, you can get the right part at the right price right now.
Welcome to the break room. First thing we got today is the 13-circuit universal wiring harness from LMC Truck.
Yeah, this is great. It's got a modern fuse block on it. All your modern blade style fuses. You know, all the wires are heavy gauge, heavy duty, and they're labeled every 2 to 3 inches, so it's easy to install and easy to diagnose.
Yeah, and you've got the diagram here. If you look at that, all the little diagrams match the wires, so it's really easy to figure out. Do it yourself at home.
Yeah, and you got all the connectors, you got all your switches that come with it. It's a piece of cake and it covers just about everything you'd need.
Yeah, if you go to their website and get free catalogs, free stuff at LMC Truck, and they got from 47 and up, all different kinds of pickups, so check out those parts. Next product up is from Ironclad. This is their GripWorks gloves.
Yeah, this is the ultimate engineering for your hands. You know, we all work with our hands and we need the things that let us do our job and save these guys. Now check it out, they've got silicone infused palms and fingers, so you got great grip, but you still have the dexterity, you know, for those little intricate jobs.
They look like Spider-Man gloves.
That's right.
If you look at the back, they've got this airprene material, and what this does, keeps the back nice and breathable, but also if you see the pleats, it kind of gives you some knuckle protection too. So pretty cool stuff from Ironclad gloves. Their GripWorks. Next up from Bosco International, we got their light wrench set.
Yeah, now you've seen the rechargeable versions before. These guys are already set up, racked and stacked, so you need a light, you need a wrench, you grab it and you go.
Oh, now we've got the new model. We've got the batteries, so if you don't want to plug it in and charge it, just take yourself some batteries, and you get the 2-for-1 special. On the front, you got metric, whoop, flip it around the other side, and there's standard.
You're all set. You keep them in your truck, you keep them in your RV or your boat, and for you outdoor guys, we've got the camo version. So what else do you need? You got lights, you got flashers, you got tools.
For the man who has it all.
Yep, that's from Bosco International. It's their lighted wrench set. And with that, we got our ski gloves on. We're ready to hit the water.
For more information about anything you've seen on today's show, check out speed.com or visit TwoGuysGarage.com.
Hey, Michael, how's it going, man?
Good. What's
This is
going
Michael
on?
De La Garza, our professional tournament fisherman and the guy with all the cool toys.
How'd the stand work out? It's fabulous, man.
It
Nice,
fit?
nice and sturdy, fits in the locker, everything works.
We're gonna get a ride.
I hope the engine's running good. I brought my fishing pole. I like to just sweep down and grab them as I'm going.
We'll try it.
All right.
We'll give it a
all
shot.
right.
Did you tighten the prop?
Prop.
Oh yeah, you ready? Woo. All right, we know it
Check
fits.
this baby out.
We know it fits in. Ooh, ooh, oh. Ka-ching. Swing. You can grab that. And ka-ching. Oh yeah.
All right, man, this is everything I know about fishing. The fish are in there.
Yep, probably over there. Uh-oh, wrong way.
This is how you get twice as much fishing done all at the same time.
I know that you need something smaller to catch something bigger.
I got one nibbling on my bait there. Whittling it down to a hook, but it won't bite it.
I feel the fish do not like me. Whoosh! Looks like fishing time's over.
Man, that was a great day wakeboarding, a little fishing, some sunshine. I'm telling you what, man. Michael's got his feet. I thought we had good jobs.
I love it.